All right, y'all. I appreciate you for coming out to this night school. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to Caleb Seals, film director.
What's up, guys? How's everybody doing? Good, 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 cool. Well, yeah, so my name is Caleb Seals. I'm a director, cinematographer, editor, colorist, producer, production company owner, all the above. But to start, I really want to hear from y'all. This is a pretty big class. You know, we ain't got to jump out at once, but like, what is it that you guys do? We can start with just names, you know? Tell me a little bit about like, do y'all shoot? Do y'all in the credit space? You can start, bro, go ahead.
Yeah, photographer, editor, filmmaker, writer, producer, director, all that fun stuff.
Okay.
Just all I want to do is just keep doing it.
Okay, cool. Dope.
Photographer, videographer. I work with mainly like artists touring. I do tours, do album covers,
Okay.
photos, all that stuff.
You do photos like on tour?
Yeah.
Video too? That's dope. Anybody in the back?
All right, what's poppin'? Don Julio Jr.
Don Julio Jr.
Photographer,
Yeah.
director,
Yeah.
videographer.
Okay. Cool.
Photographer, A&R, Winter Circle Paul, and a producer.
Okay. Dope. Anybody else?
My name is.
Oh no, I'm sorry. We're gonna let ladies go first. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Lauren, producer, production coordinator, choreographer as well, creative director as well.
Cool.
My name is Richard LaFleur. Call me Rich. I'm a photographer, videographer, and I manage producers as well.
Okay. Cool. Dope. Anybody else? That's it. Cool. All right, bet. So that's kind of the introduction, but I want to go back to the title of the class, How to Become an Irreplaceable Director. Just as a statement in itself, what does it mean to be irreplaceable?
Can't replace you. They need you that much. Like, can't buy it.
Your work is amazing. One-on-one.
Right.
Like Beyonce said.
So how do you translate that into real time, into that being like an actual thing?
Creativity.
Okay. Knowledge of your craft. Okay. Yeah. Say that one more time, brother.
Outworking everybody.
Okay.
Business savvy.
I'm gonna simplify it even further. The number one thing I would say is providing value. That's number one. Provide value. Whatever that looks like for you, provide value. Whether that's, problem solving on set, you have to be a vehicle. You have to be a vehicle on set. Like, you're driving, this car, machine, ship, boat, whatever it may be, to a destination. So value is the number one thing. Like, everybody is a director, but this class is about how you become a working director. You know what I'm saying? That's the key thing. And it just starts with just having that value add. How you communicate to clients, how you talk to clients, how you interact with your crew. All of those things are value adds. So I just wanted to start there. Let me see. So that's our intro. The first lesson, or the first layer that I really wanted to talk about, is positioning yourself in the marketplace. Being the go-to, being hardworking. Let's see. My bad, I'm trying to get these notes together, guys. I'm sorry. So being the go-to, how do you become one of the go-to directors or the go-to photographers or go-to videographers in this space? Like, how do you really translate that?
Well, in this industry, you just gotta be available, because if you're not available, they just gonna go to the next person.
Okay.
And then you gotta be able to stand out, and don't just be in the room. Make sure that your work is actually standing out.
Availability is key, but also like the main thing I want to just reiterate just across the board is like being able to deliver is such a need right now. Like you see like a lot of productions where it used to be 30, 40 people on set, you know, very large productions. And when COVID hit, like they got cut in half. So a lot of productions, you know, it's a director, it's a DP, and like, you know, maybe a producer and an editor on set. So it's like maybe 5 people. So they're doing a lot of these larger productions with less people. So the more that you can deliver and deliver on time, that's the key thing. You know, we can sit and have a creative conversation all day, but like being able to deliver on time, you know, deadlines, things like that, that's what's gonna set you apart. That's what's gonna keep you hired. That's the key thing, and that's how you become the go-to. I think you had some too, but yeah. Yeah, that's the.
Say just go the extra mile.
Yeah, you know, just going above and beyond. You know, like nothing should be off limits. You know, as a director, like you know, I know it's like other roles that you can take on set, but like definitely, you know, do that in those roles as well. That's how you build up to a director or a producer or just being the go-to. And ultimately, that's how you become irreplaceable. So, so that's number one. Number two, let me see if I can go. Just bear with me on these slides. Let's see. Oh Lord. Communication, guys. Like that's everything. Communication is everything. And so you have to be so meticulous when it comes to communication. You got to be able to communicate to your crew properly, you know, having the right conversations with your producers if you're a director, having the right conversations with your DP, you know, having the right conversations with like your editor if you're outsourcing editing, like all of that. Like all of that is like key things, just so everything flows the way it needs to flow, you know, and even restating information that you might have said multiple times before, like that's a part of it. You know, and then on top of all of that, you got to communicate all of that to, you know, your clients too. You know, having those tough conversations that you might not want to have, like, yo, like, I know we haven't talked about payment, but like, what's the pay terms? Like, opening that door so all of that is clear. Because the last thing you want to do is assume one thing and another thing actually happens. We deal with that all the time, right? So, like, the way we avoid that is proper communication. Etiquette on set. Raise your hand if you've been on set. Let's start there. All right, so for people that have been on set, like what's the proper way of, like, okay, so let's just say you're a PA on set, you know, and you want to work with the director in a larger capacity on different productions, on other sets and stuff like that. How do you maneuver in that, you know, on that set in order to get, you know, what you need out of it? Go ahead in the back.
First, you do the job. You do your job, you go beyond, do whatever is asked. Sometimes do what needs to be done before someone even asks you. But then wait till the end of the production to kind of have that conversation with the director if you are looking to work with them.
Got it.
In the future.
And why is it important to wait to the end?
Because they focus on everything else.
Exactly. Yeah.
You feel me? They focus on everything else, so you need to wait till the end of the production.
Yeah.
To try to have that conversation.
Right. And you hit the nail on the head, honestly. Like, you know, for a lot of us as directors, producers, we're focused on the present. Like, you know, we can have proper conversations with, you know, production assistants and interns and stuff like that after set, but like, you know, while things are going on in real time, like it's kind of tough to be able to answer questions and stuff like that, you know, while things are going on. That's why it's always a little bit better to have that conversation after you've already shown what you're capable of that day on set. So I always just try to explain that. Like, it's just super pivotal and super key. Like, your etiquette is everything. You don't want to just hover under the director the entire time. You don't want to hover over the DP the entire time. And again, these are ways that you really just bring value, you know, on set. Like, just showing up and doing your job, like she said. You know, holding yourself accountable, showing up on time. like being on time. Like that's huge, you know. And I appreciate all of you guys for being here, you know, at a decent time, you know, instead of having it to start later. But like all of that is key. It's important. And production companies, they see that, they take note of that. Like, you know, I know like it's a lot of us, you know, as creatives, as directors, photographers, producers, directors, or whatever the case may be. But like, you know, it only take a couple times for, you know, an agency or, you know, a Nike or, you know, this company, that company, whatever, to just be like, you know, I'm not working with this person ever again, you know. So to prevent that, like, again, like bringing value, communicating properly, being on set, being on time, being accountable, being somebody that can be trusted to deliver it is what's gonna set you apart. That's the key thing. So, what's some of the best ways to, you know, reach out to, you know, somebody that you're aspiring to work with? Like, let's talk about that. Like, let's just say you want to work with Hype Williams. Like, how do you get to Hype?
I would say, like, try to reach out to their team, like, just do some research. I would say do some research, find out who's who in the team and who you could get in contact with. Maybe send them an email or DM.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great note. Any other thoughts? Anybody? Go ahead. Oh, all right. Yeah. So that, I mean, that you pretty much hit on the head. Like I agree wholeheartedly, like 100%. Like you said everything in that. On another note, so another thing I want to talk to you guys about, like, as a director, we obviously got the creative part down right. Like that's kind of the easy part, like shooting photos, shooting video. That kind of explains itself. But when it comes to like the financial part of it, you know, negotiation, getting what you should get or paid from a project, that's always a challenge for us. I think the way that you cut through that is really understanding the market and understanding what, like, okay, yeah, you want to price yourself like within a job. Like that's the key thing. You don't want to price yourself outside of a job. And what I mean by that, like, you know, let's just say you want to make, you know, $10,000 on this video or $10,000 on this photo shoot. But if they're used to, you know, paying like 500 or 1,000, like that's kind of where they are. So I always say this phrase, like, you got to meet clients where they at, like, and that's just what it is. Like, you got to be able to come down or come up to wherever they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, pricing wise, budget wise. And the reason why I bring that up, because like, even if you're offering less, that don't mean you do less. Like, you still show up and be you. That's the key thing. Like, you still gotta show up and deliver, like, because that's why they called you to begin with, you know, and just planting those seeds the right way in the beginning, it creates like a track record or a rapport with this client. Like, all right, like, you know, this person gonna consistently deliver. Like, you know, I know I only had like $500 or $1,000 for this video, but you know, when the $10,000 jobs come, I know I can hit Caleb up to deliver too, you know. So that's the key thing. Planting the right seeds. Planting the right seeds so everything can grow the way it needs to grow. So I don't know how we doing on time. I think we only like 15 in, but what I want to do now at this point is like talk more about like production. There's 3 stages to production, guys. So we have pre-production, production, and then post-production. What do you guys think goes into pre-production?
Planning, and more planning.
Okay. So when we say planning, like, what does that mean?
Who, what, when, where, why?
Go ahead. All right, cool.
Pitch decks.
Okay.
Shoot, who your crew? Who's your cast? what you need, what the client want.
Mm.
The output, where it's going. I should have a whole list. Like,
all right, cool.
teach y'all something.
Cool. All right, so let's do this, guys. I want you guys to make a real checklist of what prep looks like in you guys' head, you know? And then I'll give you guys like what I use for my shoots. It's cool. It will take like 5 minutes to do that real quick.
Say it for me one more time.
So just make a pre-production kind of checklist that goes into like, you know, every standard production. It don't have to be, you know, a music video. It could be anything, you know, just what's the steps that goes into that. And while you guys are doing that, I just want to express this, like 90% of what I do as a director is done in prep. Everything is prep. Like you said, shot listing and, you know, creating treatments and doing concepts and pitch decks and cold calling and, you know, warm calls, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's just so many different layers that goes into it. All right, cool. Everybody good? Y'all pretty close? Good, cool. All right, I'm gonna call a couple people. So, you know, I ain't really heard from my young lady in the black with the hat. I'm gonna call you out, dog. Yeah. Let me hear your checklist.
Okay, so I've never directed a shoot before.
That's cool. That's cool. And again, guys, and let me just say this out loud. This is a safe place. Like this ain't, you know, we not on set. This ain't no production. We here to learn. You know what I'm saying? Just so we can be, you know, irreplaceable directors. So.
Okay. So I'm assuming that you would start with the concept first, the location, and then do a casting call. Then once you get your crew together and the people that you're gonna use in the shoot, do a call sheet, which will tell you like the times and locations of where the shoot is gonna be, and then do shoot day, wrap up shoot, and then start editing afterwards. And that's all I got.
Got you. Okay. That was pretty good. That was actually really good. All right, cool. Anybody else want to volunteer? All right, cool.
Yeah, start with your treatment, storyboard, breakdown, shot list, budgeting, location scouting, casting, shopping for food, props, etc., wardrobe, hire your crew, meet with the artist, label, setting expectations, call sheet.
Okay. Cool. Both of those are really good lists. I can't even deny that fact. But I'm gonna just give you guys like what I kind of use for all of my productions. So I want you guys to write this down. So first thing you want to do, have an introductory call with your client. And within that, you want to discover exactly what they're looking for. Like discover you know, how much they want to spend on a specific project, like what the brief is, what a brief specifically is. It's just a 1 or 2 liner of what the production they're looking for, the type of like aesthetic that they're going for, and you know, things like that. So you just want to get all of that information in that first introductory call. You know, you might deal with a client where, you know, it's like a text conversation, or it might be an email. It might even be through Instagram. Get them on the phone. Like, get them on the phone, get them on the Zoom, just so you can really pick their brains to understand exactly where they are. You know, like, that's number 1. Number 2, once you had that introductory call, again, not an email, not a text, like an actual call so you can fill out your client, create a brief, create a treatment. Everybody familiar with what a treatment is? All right, cool. So within the treatment, you want to break down what your concept is, you know, how you're going to approach said project, what locations will look like, what casting looks like, the aesthetic for the video, and et cetera, et cetera. So I think I got a treatment from a job I did a couple years ago. We actually blew up a car for this video shoot. I think it was 2020. And the artist was Leighton Green. And they gave me this brief of shooting her with like a male love interest in some way and creating like this whole Bonnie and Clyde, like, you know, type concept. And so I took it in that direction. So this is the treatment that I actually used for that video. You can find it on YouTube, but just to kind of click through it, this is really how I structure a lot of my treatments. You want to really use the least amount of words, but more impactful words, if that makes sense. You don't want to make it too wordy and lead with images. Like, images are everything. You know, everybody, you know, may perceive words in a different way, but like, images are images. Like, you know, if you see a car that's exploded, like, it's only one way to interpret that. So that's the key thing. And again, you want to start with like an overview or a summary of exactly what's going on, what the video is. They should be able to read this one page and understand what the video is. Everything after that is just the details. So I'm just gonna click through so we can kind of see what's up. Obviously, with blowing up a car, it was expensive, but you know, it was fun. It was definitely fun. And again, details, details, details. How do you say more with less? And then another thing too is a lot of these, like, a lot of these images we actually use for like our shot list. And I want to point one thing out too here, like with treatments and budgets and everything like that, you want to make sure that you're pitching what you're capable of actually shooting and not like just putting together a treatment just because, like, you know, Kendrick Lamar look good and humble. Like, you know what I'm saying? You want to make sure it like looks close to what, you know, what space you're in. So with this, like, you know, I made sure to be intentional about like hiring a DP that has worked with exploding cars. You know what I'm saying? It's just things like that. Like, you just want to take note of, because you don't want to be in a position where you're working on a job that you don't pitched on a treatment and you kind of look in over your head. So it's just key to just be, you know, aware, I guess is the word, of where you are and what you're presenting and pitching. So, but that's a treatment. Again, like, I'm just clicking through just so y'all can kind of see the vibe of, I mean, this is a 20-something page, like, treatment. It's just all photos and, you know, some writing. So yeah, that's that. And that's number 2 on my pre-production checklist. Number 3, after you created your treatment, you know, after you had your introductory call, you want to reach out to producers You know, you want to reach out to your production companies and have the conversation with them like, hey, look, this is the budget that I have to work with. You know, this is kind of where I'm at. And then, you know, from there, your producer, you know, again, this is coming from the director's seat. Your producers will do a lot of the legwork of, you know, this is the location that you want, this is, you know, the cast that you want. You know, look at it like this. You know, a director is either the bride or the groom in a wedding, you know, and the producer is like your wedding planner. So the wedding planner is just like executing, you know, what you want for your wedding day. So, but at the same time, it's a balance in that, because you don't want to, you know, like upset or piss off your wedding planner because they won't work for you no more, right? So you got to find a middle ground between what your client wants, you know what I'm saying, and what you want out of the video too. Everything is about balance. So that's that. And then, again, after you had a conversation with your producers and production company, the next thing is negotiations, you know, negotiating with your client. Because what the production company or the producer may be agreeing to, you know, budget-wise, it may be outside of what y'all talked about. Like, so in real time, like if a budget for a project is like 10K, you go to your production company and they're like, man, we can't do this for less than 20. So you got to have a conversation with the client, like, hey, look, like, do we have flexibility to essentially double the budget? A lot of times it's gonna be no, but you know, again, that's where negotiation kind of starts. So those are all real things that we have to do, and we ain't even got to the part of like, you know, hiring a camera operator or dealing with nothing camera related at all. It's just all concept and ideation before you even walk on set. So there's that. After you do your negotiations, you know, you send in a few different bids, you know, with producers and stuff like that. You'll have what's called a budget approval. That's the next step. So you either get approved for your budget or denied. You know, let's just say you guys talked about shooting, you know, May 1st. It's not gonna happen until the budget approved. It's just not gonna happen. You know, that's a vital step in the process. Otherwise, everything else is null and void. After that, and this is more of the producer and the production company that's doing this, but like, you know, hiring crew for your project. And the way I look at it is like, you know, as a director, every situation is gonna be different, but for like most situations, you do get to pick like what gaffer you wanna work with, what DP you wanna work with, you know, and all of that is key in order for a director to like translate the look that he's going for, you know, and I think that's a vital part, just, you know, being real meticulous with like who you're hiring for your crew. After that, once crew is hired, obviously after that, you working with your AD to create a shoot schedule. What an AD is an assistant director. And I kind of answered my own question, but like, can anybody tell me what, like, you know, an assistant director is or what their role is in more detail? Anybody? Go ahead. I think you got a mic behind you. My bad, bro. Yeah.
So an assistant director basically kind of keeps, it's like I guess you can call it like the shepherd of the sheep almost on set. So they kind of keep like the energy together. They help the director plan and get together, like you said, call sheets, XYZ.
Yeah.
So like the logistical like work, I guess you could say.
Right. So he said something super key. He said an assistant director is a shepherd of the sheep. I like the way that you put that, because that's essentially what an AD is. And they keep everybody on track. They're the voice of reason on set. Like, they're the reason a lot of productions flow the way that they flow, because they're creating like a shoot schedule. They're taking my ideas and my concept and my shoot schedule and making it digestible in, you know, a 12-hour day. Most productions are 12 hours on set, you know, honestly minimum. Like, most sets a lot longer. Most sets. So again, the AD, the first AD, the second, you know, and so on and so forth, like, they're in charge of what all of those things look like. So again, the next step for me as a director Like, me and my AD need to talk. Me and my DP, we need to talk. Like, all right, like, let's have real conversations about like what this shoot and what this day will look like. After that, tech scouts. If everybody can write that down, tech scouts. Tech, yeah, tech scouts. So technical scout. Has anybody heard that term before? Tech scout. Okay. So what a tech scout is, that's when you scout a location that you're interested in shooting at, and you're seeing if it translates, you know, exactly what you're looking for from your concept. So if you want, you know, I don't know, bro, like a club scene, you'll visit, you know, 3 or 4 different clubs to make sure it translates the way it needs to translate on video, you know, based on the budget that you have. Like some locations, you know, it may speak to it a little bit more, it may have like a little less, but, you know, through doing tech scouts, that's how you figure that out. And that'll be more closer to like your production date, but that is another vital step in pre-production. We still in pre-production. We haven't even got to production yet. Like that's pre-production. So that's the next thing. Once you got past your tech scout, once you did your shoot schedule, obviously after you've, you know, closed down what the budget is and things like that, the last thing is just like, man, you have to be real intentional about like preparing your gear, like charging batteries, like testing cables, like everything, like all of that is so key. Like if y'all don't remember anything else from this class, man, like remember to like charge your batteries, keep up with your SD cards, like, you know, make sure your media is managed the right way. Like, again, that's how you come irreplaceable. Like doing those things, like making sure that you're intentional about like every step of the process. So, but that's kind of my core pre-production checklist. So, questions so far? Anybody? What's up, bro?
What was your first?
I think you got it. Yeah.
What was your first budget for a video?
First budget? Man, for a lot of years, they were free, bro. Like, I mean, like, when we say, like, my first, you mean, like...
Your first paid one, though.
Like, what was my first paid video?
Or, like, your first, like, big video that you got paid for, yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the first one was. Like, well, let me put it like this. Like, my first, like, label video, I did a few videos with an artist by the name of Cantrell. And he was signed to Nas. So we did like 5 videos. That was my first time really in the real way working with like labels and like dealing with a lot of the client interaction side of it. You know, you kind of shoot some videos for the homies or do photo shoots for the homies. It's a little different, but you know, working for a label, you gotta be established as a business. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have like a LLC. You gotta have like, you know, COI, which is commercial insurance for those that don't know. Like, you gotta have those things in place in order for these production companies to, or like, you know, labels and stuff to take you serious. Like, that's the key thing. So again, like, that's really how you cut through. Just having all of those things in place. Like, do you have like a website? Do you have, you know, not just social media, but cohesive social media. You know what I'm saying? Like, does your Instagram align with your Twitter? Can people that have found you on Twitter find you on Instagram? You know what I'm saying? Just making sure everything is, like, anywhere that you go, it should say the same thing. Like, either, like, you know, Open Season or Caleb Seals. Caleb Seals or Open Season. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, as long as your branding is on point, like, you know, it just feels good for a client to have that reassurance. I'm trying to think. Go ahead.
When it comes to like the brief, like, do you try to come up with the concept for your client, or you just like, it's their vision and you just execute their vision?
That's never the case. Yeah, that never happened. Yeah, it never happened. So that's kind of our job, man. So like, let me put it like this: a lot of these like agencies and like clients, if you will, and stuff like that, like they ain't really got a credit bone in their body, bro. Like, they really don't. So it's our job to kind of fill the gap. Like, they come with the logic, you know, I think it's right brain, we come with the left, you know what I'm saying? We come with the side of the brain to where we can actually, like, we always talk about, like, products and services. Like, yes, we're providing, like, a product, but it's really a service. And the service is just closing that gap between what they think they want and what they actually need. That's the key thing. So,
I'm about to say, ask another thing before I pass it back to you, my guy. How do you know when a treatment's finished? Like, how do you say, okay, this treatment, all my ideas are here. Here's like this little baby project, and how do you, like, you know?
The beautiful thing about it, bro, like, you can make a concept and a treatment, but like, you can always revise it. You know what I mean? Like, the key thing is just submitting a treatment that can start the conversation. You know what I'm saying? Versus like, man, I can't get no ideas out, so I'm not gonna say nothing in. Like, you miss all the shots that you don't take, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's really what it is. So you gotta submit something, like, obviously don't just submit like anything.
Yeah, be intentional.
But be intentional, that's the key thing. Like, submit something that clients or anybody will look at and be like, okay, like, let me talk to this person. Like, let me get them on the phone so they can walk me through this treatment. And then, you know, that might be a week after the fact, and then you can come back and be like, look, like, I was thinking, you know, maybe we could add these things to this original treatment or concept, and then that opens the door for more work or anything, you know what I'm saying? But I would highly suggest doing that.
So what were like some of the perils that you had to go through, like opening or founding Open Season, and like how did you acquire like team members like Ja and Gray, like Sean and all? Like, what was that process like?
That's a great question, bro. I would say the key thing, honestly, and what we talking about now. Let me see I don't know if this is later or not. Actually, this is lesson 3, so I'm gonna just go ahead and jump into that. Let me see if I could. All right, cool. So you're hired for a project, and before we get to that, I want to talk about, like, you know, the thing I got here is like just staffing your operation. You know, staffing your production company. One of the key things to really build a production company, if you will, is trying to figure out the best way to put it. You gotta be intentional about, like, finding people that are inspired by what you do, motivated by what you do, and the other thing is, how do you find what their needs are, but also finding a way for them to meet your needs too. You know, that's really any relationship or any business partnership or anything in business, like, you know, like meeting each other's needs. So that's how I've been able to, like, you know, work with like a Sean Craig or like a Gray for, you know, 5+ years consistently, is because of those things. Like, I've been able to understand exactly where they are, what they want, you know, out of the market, and what they want to do out of video and production. And, you know, outside of that, like, just be a human being. Like, be a good person. Like, be genuine. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't got to be, like, scripted or, like, we see a lot of people in this space, they work on these projects and, like, they just act like they can't be touched. Like, you know, a lot of people don't really want to deal with that no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's, like, this ain't 2008 making a band. You know what I'm saying, with Diddy. Like, things are different. Like, people don't want to be around that no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, with COVID that just happened 3 years ago, like, people are traumatized. Like, people want to be around good people. So, like, when we talk about building a community, like, that's it. Like, just be organic, and, you know, things will come the way that they come. So, when you're building out a production crew or a team, like, how do you do that? How do you connect the dots, right? Like, I would say the number one thing is starting with, all right, what are you good at? What are you capable of doing? And what are you not so great at doing? Like, having that self-awareness of like what areas you need to improve, and then hiring people who do that better than you. It's really that simple. So as long as you're able to fill those voids, and a perfect marriage too is like, let's just say the things that you're great at, they may not be good at. So it's a perfect trade-off of value. And that's how you keep a working relationship with the right people. Let's see. Just a question I want to ask. Let's just say you guys are actually working with a budget, you know, for a project or whatever. What's one of the first things you actually spend money on?
The venue or the location, lights, production.
Okay. So, what was that? Okay, cool. Crew?
Yeah, crew rentals.
Crew rentals, okay.
Location, I agree with that.
Yeah. So it's a lot of those things actually. So it's crew, it is location, and let's keep going. What's some other things? Go ahead.
You gotta pay yourself.
That's true. That's true. But, and I'm glad you say that. Let's hold on that. Equipment. Travel. Travel. What else? Props. Okay. Post-production. Okay. That's real. All right, cool. So all of those things are pretty much correct. The thing that I just wanted to just express is that, like, you know, as directors or just like leaders on these specific projects or EPs or whatever, like 9 times out of 10, we gonna get paid last. Like, that's a part of it. Like, we not gonna be, okay, like you getting a large budget or any budget, like, you the last person to get paid, bro. That's just what it is, you know, and be prepared to deal with that part of it, you know, like not getting the money at the time that you think you should getting it. Like, it's just not gonna be that. It's always gonna be a delayed thing. It's always gonna be after the fact. Yes, you get deposits, but the deposits going to the actual production. Like, you're not really getting anything unless it's the back end. So, and if you're not willing to make, another thing I want to talk about is sacrifice. If you're not willing to make that sacrifice, then it's just gonna be tough for you. What are some other sacrifices that we think need to be made to be an irreplaceable director?
Turnaround time.
Yep.
Turnaround time.
I was just gonna say commitment to the project.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Oh. All right. Yeah, you go ahead, bro. Yeah.
Oh, I have
No. Yeah. Okay. Just to speak to that, man, like, yes, you're brought on to be a director, but it's super key to be flexible. Be flexible. Be able to wear multiple hats if the role calls for it or if the job calls for it. Every job ain't gonna look the same. Like, we think, like, okay, like, I'm on this project and I'm gonna do what I did, you know, 2 weeks ago on another set. Like, every set gonna be different. The needs are gonna be different. You know, be a chameleon. Be able to adapt to whatever environment that you placed in.
I think another thing you gotta sacrifice is like your pride. Like, a lot of people like do projects and feel like they know everything.
Yeah.
But like a lot of PAs can have input. A lot of people can have input that may not have the experience, but they have experience in that particular thing. And a lot of people just be too good to like put their pride to the side and accept like feedback.
Right. ego kills a lot of directors, guys. Ego kills a lot of photographers. Ego kills, like, I mean, I ain't gotta say no names, man, but like y'all know a lot of directors that ain't really shooting this year. Like they ain't really working like that. They not. And the reason for that is ego. It's not that they good, they not good. They talented. They really talented. It's a lot of, I will honestly, I'm gonna say and be honest with y'all, man. I know a lot of directors that's more talented than me, like from a credit standpoint. But who's more consistent? Like, that's the key thing. Like, consistency is everything. How you show up. You're only as good as your last project. Like, nobody cared that I did Down Bad 5 years ago for J. Cole. Like, nobody care about that now. You know what I'm saying? Like, how did you make your clients feel in your last job? Cool. All right, we back in. We back in. So, I guess just to start, I want to kind of, I know we jumped around a lot, but just want to start with just a little bit of a Q&A, you know, ask some questions, just see, you know, did everything that we discussed so far, did it resonate? You know, any questions, I'm open, like just across the board, anybody. Share what's up.
I got it myself.
Yeah, they only got the mic, guys, because they live streaming, so that's why.
So it's like, I know you talked a lot about like getting the project and stuff, but I know for me, I do more personal projects. So how does like post and pre-production differ from like if I'm doing personal? Cause it's like my budget, that's coming from me.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah.
How does that kind of differ between like doing somebody else's project, between now I'm doing my own, like I'm working on my own films, I'm doing my own shows. How does that like pre-production kind of differ?
How does it differ? I would say like for personal projects, it's honestly like the same thing. It's the same skeleton that you want to use to approach it. Like what you do for clients is the same thing you want to do for yourself, and even more for yourself, honestly. Like clients is one thing, but like if you got personal projects where you got like 100% ownership of those things, like you want to go like even harder on those. Like honestly, like that's just what it is. And the same way you showing up for clients is the same way you want to show up for yourself, like ultimately. So that's the key thing. Go ahead, bro.
I would say, how much of your vision are you willing to sacrifice when you come to like, you know, it's your like budget, and how much can you sacrifice for yourself?
That's a great question. That's a great question.
Until you leave.
How much can you sacrifice? It's always gonna change. It's always gonna be different depending on who you're working with, who your client is. And ultimately, like, you gotta ask yourself, like, how much do you wanna work with this specific client? Like, is it really worth your time and your energy? You know, regardless of who it is. It could be, I don't know, I ain't finna throw the names out, but like, you know, it could be anybody, bro. Like, you know, so you just wanna really think about, like, okay, cause like you might want to do this cool concept or this treatment that you've been trying to execute for a long time, and you finally got the right budget, you finally got the right artist, you finally got the right song in your eyes, but what they're seeing may be a completely different thing, you know, for whatever concept. And I'm just gonna speak specifically to like client situations, right, versus like personal projects. Personal projects, obviously, you know, your decisions and your ideas, like, you're the only one in that room. But like for a lot of client work, you're dealing with so many different chiefs that has opinions, that has ideas and things like that. You gotta find a way to find a middle ground between all of that. That's the key thing, you know? So you wanna compromise as much as you can to keep, you know, the client relationship healthy, but like don't lose yourself at the same time. So you just gotta find that balance.
All about that balance.
Chase, I'm gonna get it to you, then I'm gonna go to you in the back. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna follow up on that. One thing I've noticed a lot of clients aren't really like visionaries like we are. So
Right.
if it's not something that you can show like a realized version of, they're not gonna understand like what it is you're trying to do, and they only want to do something like that they've seen before.
Right.
So
right.
that's why like a lot of times stuff does have to get sacrificed.
Right. And I'm gonna give y'all another gem too. Like, You know, I know we talked in pre-production a lot about like treatments. Another thing that you guys can do too is making a video. Let's just say it's a music video. You can take the song that you shoot a music video for and like edit to the song what you're seeing the video being. So that's another form of treatment. It's more like a visual treatment. And like that gives them like an idea of pacing. You know, when it comes to the edit, it gives them an idea of like the shots. You know, this same formula can be, you know, emulated for commercials or anything. It's all good, bro. It could be emulated for anything, you know, commercial work, you know, short form content, like anything. You know, using that video as like, it's an extra step, yes, but it might be that extra step that just gives you that advantage over the other 10 treatments that they got. Like, it's the little things, that's it. I think you had some.
Yeah, so what is your process like for obtaining clients? And then two, when you were in your career, when was that point where you were like, I'm no longer doing the low budgets, you know, I'm going for the higher end kind of clients, the label clients. When was that switch for you and how did you like navigate that?
That's a great question. I would say like, just to be honest with you, like, and everybody's situation is gonna be a little different. I still do low budget projects, man. Like, I actually enjoy them, you know, sometimes. Like, depending on who the client is. Like, you're gonna deal with like a lot of low budget situations and like, it's a trade-off, right? So like your low budget stuff, you might be allowed to be a little bit more creative, right? Because it's less, you know, chiefs a part of the equation. And then your higher budget stuff, you might have no creative control at all, but you know, seeing a great payday. So it's just about like doing a little bit of both so you don't just get consumed with like not being yourself and not working on the things that you care about, things that you're passionate about, you know, stuff like that. What was the first part of your question again?
What is your process like for obtaining clients?
My process for obtaining clients. You got to be authentically you. You know what I'm saying? That's the number one thing. And your tribe of clients, like we talk about your tribe of your community, like your tribe of clients, like they're going to find you. You know, like the people that love your work, love you for who you are, like they're going to find you. And the way that they find you, bless you, the way that they find you is like, I always tell people, like, for every project that you shoot, you should get 3 clients from that project. If you're really shooting it the right way, if you really executing the right way, and that next job isn't always gonna come from the client. It might come from the PA, it might come from the production manager, it might come from the gaffer, you never know. But the way that you make people feel is everything, you know, and you know, the gaffer might need a director on the job, you know, or they might need, you know, a stylist on the job or, you know, anything. Like that little interaction that y'all had on set that day, you know, in a 10-hour day, that's everything. They're like, I don't really know this person, but that was really dope. Like, can you share me their contact information? And then it goes from there. Like, that's how you get more clients. And that's how you build a sustainable, like, client list. And that'll lead into my next thing I just want to discuss too. Like, you know, from a financial standpoint, right? Like, everybody got bills. It's possible to make all of your money from like one avenue, but in order to really sustain where we are right now, you gotta be flexible and wear multiple hats. Like you might show up and be the stylist today, but on another set, you the director. On the next set, you just the editor. On the next set, you the colorist. Like things change and being able to wear those different hats is everything. And also, like, in tandem with that, because you're able to wear so many different hats, you know what to hire for, you know what to look for, and you know when somebody playing with you. Like, ultimately, like, that's the key thing. You know what I mean? Like, somebody just overcharging you or undercharging you. You know, like, hey, look, like, you know, I care about you. Like, you know a DP normally makes this, like, and I got budget to pay you, and I want to take care of you. You know what I'm saying? Just knowing those different things. Or knowing that, okay, like on this specific job, it's just like we just shooting interviews. It's gonna be a light day. 2 hours, like, you know, like, I know your rate is this, but like, it's very minute and it's small. Like, are you able to take on, you know, a smaller budget for this? Because I know the ask is a lot less. If I didn't know the role at all, I wouldn't be able to make that call and have that conversation. You know what I'm saying? So those are the key things. So, questions?
I got a question.
What's up, bro?
So if you've never been on a real set, what is the best approach to get on one?
We just gonna, I think that needs you to say it in the mic, my boy. I'm sorry, bro.
So if you've never been on a real set, what is the best approach to get on one? So like,
What is the best way to get on set if you've never been on set? I would say starting with doing due diligence, you know what I'm saying? Like doing research on who's inviting people on set, like who's looking for production assistants, who's looking for different roles on set. And it's about reaching out to those companies or those producers or interns or whatever, you know, for these different agencies and stuff like that, and reaching out, like, you know, to give you a real example in the real way. I got a friend of mine, she wanted to work with Jordan Peele under Monkey Paw, and, you know, she reached out. I think they had like an Instagram Live that was going on or something like that, and she reached out, you know, from that, and, you know, got on set as like a PA and has been working on a few different sets from that, you know. And I think it's key for, you know, obviously you to have the proper foundation, you know, and when I say that, like, you know, having your website in order, having your portfolio in order. So when you do reach out to these, like, you know, production companies and producers and stuff like that, you're packaged well. So it looks like, all right, like, he been here before. You know what I'm saying? Even if you haven't, just making it look like you've been there before is the key thing. Like, for real. Let's pass the mic.
So artistically, like, what were some of the steps you went through to kind of get to the point that you are now? Like, did you study under other directors, editors, or were you like self-taught, YouTube University?
I'm gonna tell y'all two key things, man. Like, I ain't never really took a film class. Never took a film class. Never been to film school. Experience is everything. Like, for the first 4 or 5 years of me as a director, it looked like me actually being on set as many hours as I possibly could when I wasn't at work. You know, like, for a lot of us, you know, starting out, like, when we starting out, like, as a PA, you really not getting paid anything substantial if you getting paid at all that day to begin with. You know what I'm saying? So the main value that you really gonna get is, like, the things that you learn that day. So I started out just, you know, again, being a PA, and yeah, like, that was really the start, you know, and it just grew to where it got from, you know, being intentional about, like, building, you know, showing up, and, you know, for me, like, it's a lot of different avenues of, like, you know, shadowing other people and things like that. I know what I was about to say. So you got to be intentional about, like, finding the right mentors. I know we haven't really discussed that yet, but, like, finding mentors. And the way that you really do that, and we always talk about, like, yeah, your mentor will find you, but, like, you really got to reach out to the people that you're inspired by and, like, bring value to them. The same way we talk about bringing value to clients, you got to bring value to your mentors that you're inspired by too. So what that looked like for me, man, like, you know, I found, like, a couple of directors and, you know, production companies and stuff like that. Some of them responded, some didn't. You know, it is what it is, you know, for whatever reason. But, like, you know, the people that really gonna show up, they'll continue to show up. And you just gotta keep that same energy with them. Reaching out to them, you know, I would say the biggest thing is just really, like, I guess we're still good. But the biggest thing when it comes to like just having mentors and finding mentors is just like, you know, sending the proper email, you know, or just being on set with them and like just understanding like what they're looking for or what their needs are. You know what I'm saying? Like every director needs something, whether they're willing to say it or not. Like they need something. So it's just like, if you take a step back and just kind of like read the room, you know, you can kind of like understand a lot without anything really being said. And I think that's kind of half the battle, you know, like doing that. So 2 things, again, like experience and then also having the right mentors is key. Questions. Anybody? All right, cool. So to jump into my next thing, let's see. All right, cool. So we're gonna talk about production, checklist, and post-production. What goes into a production checklist? All right, my guy friend said a shot list.
Everything you got from your pre-production, go ahead and execute.
Everything that you got from your pre-production checklist. Anybody else? Anybody?
Execution? That's it, really? In my opinion.
Shooting a video, maybe?
SD cards, like, it's everything you got. Like,
Yeah,
man, like,
yeah.
take everything, like, buy everything you needed already, like,
Okay.
bring it to set on the right day.
Okay.
Make sure your shit's charged.
Yeah. Make sure your stuff charged. And we talking about like the production day and then post-production.
Show up on time.
Show up on time. All right.
File management.
File management, media management. Anybody else?
Make sure your crew was there on time. Like, I don't know.
All right, cool. So if we could take a couple minutes, I want you guys to just detail in a real way like a production checklist that you guys think that you guys will need just on the day of a shoot. So let's start with that. Just write down what you guys think needs to go into like actually doing a production on the day.
This is like from a director's point of view.
Yeah, from a director standpoint. Directing, but also like I would just say, as a creative in general, you know, on the day. I'm gonna broaden it a little bit. All right, cool. Everybody good? We close? You might need more time. All right, cool. So I'm gonna start with this. This is my kind of production checklist on the day. We can take notes. Number 1, on the day, arriving at set before call time. Like, before call time. If your call time is 9 a.m., like, why are you not there at 8:30? Like, pull up a little bit early, you know, figure out where parking is at. Like, it's no need in, you know, calling the producer right at call time to figure out where parking is at. Like, that should have been done, like, yesterday to talk about where parking is at. Like, because again, like, on the day, the director, the producer, everybody else, they focus on the job, the task at hand. Like, they ain't even trying to think about that. So, like, you know, let's just say you're a PA, you're shadowing Hype Williams. Like, you know, he not trying to hit at 9 a.m. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just be real. He's more focused on the task at hand, the job, you know, the process and things like that. So that's number 1. I would say number 2 is obviously shooting the production. That's number 2. Being intentional about, like, you know, executing your full shot list. Like, shooting everything that you communicated to your clients. Boy, Atlanta gone Atlanta, ain't it? Oh, man. The next thing, on the day of the shoot, I don't know, for whatever reason, this has always been the case, but clients gonna come in with some type of curveball. That's just a part of it. They're always gonna come in and just say, like, you know, I was thinking about it and I kind of want to, you know, go with this color backdrop versus that one, or I want to do this versus that, and you know, that puts the full production in the bind. Or, you know, it's another situation where, like, you know what, artist's gonna be 3 or 4 hours late. You know what I'm saying? Like, hours late, or even worse, man, we locked out of the location, we can't get in. Like, these are all real things that happen, you know, and I'll give y'all a very real situation, man. I just shot a video for Lotto and Tia Corinne, and we had this whole Baps concept. Who's seen the movie Baps? About Halle Berry, you know, shout out Robert Townsend, you know what I'm saying? So I shot that video for them, and if you watch the video, you know, I encourage you guys to check it out, but, like, man, I had 8, 9 different little setups for, like, both of them for that whole day. And, you know, call time was like 9 a.m. We didn't shoot until 9 p.m. Call time was 9 a.m. We had the house till midnight. You know what I'm saying? So, given that, right? Like, how do you survive that? You know what I'm saying? How do you survive that? You got to be able to pivot. You got to be able to pivot. That's the key thing. So my third thing I just want to talk about, just being flexible. Find a way to be flexible. You're not gonna get what you want at every job. Like, it just is what it is. Even with Down Bad, like, I mean, we had 5 artists on that shoot. You know, it was a lot of working elements. I think, you know, people loved that shot of J. Cole, you know, when we had the car outside on the, you know, on the jet for that video, if y'all remember it. But, like, we only shot that scene that way because he just had, you know, a baby, and he would only fly in for that one scene for the video, and he wasn't gonna, like, transport the set. So we had to shoot him at the airport, and no permits, we just had to figure it out. Like, that just, you know, it's just a part of it. You know, so for this video with Lotto, it's just like, yo, like, I know I had all these setups kind of like in my head that I wanted to do, but, like, you just gotta make best of the situation that you're dealing with. Control what you can control, guys. Control what you can control. Anything outside of that, it don't matter. Like, I can't control when Lotto get the set. You know what I'm saying? Now, am I gonna respond to that and be upset? No. You gotta, like, bottle that up, like, let it go, and keep it pushing. Like, you still here to shoot a video. It might not be the video you want it to be, but you still gotta shoot a video. So, that's that. the last thing I just want to say, man, and this might seem more simplistic than what you guys would probably expect, but like just lead with love. Like when we talk about like leadership, like lead with grace, lead with love, show love to your people. You know, when I say your people, like your crew, like that's your tribe. Like, you know, you want to make sure the people that are showing up for you, shooting with you and like working alongside you, like they having a great time, but they also showing up for you what you need done in your set on that day. And the only way you can do that is by leading with love. Like nobody want to, you know, sit and work with like a, you know, like a Hitler, if you will, or anything like that. Like nobody want to deal with that. Like just a dictatorship. Like people want to be around people that's like enjoyable to be around. That's the key thing. So just lead with love. So that's my production checklist. Again, a lot of things are done in prep, as you can see. I just gave out like 4 or 5 points for production. It's all prep. And I just want to express this to guys, like, if you're not prepping the right way, everything else gonna fall to the wayside. Like your production not gonna be in order. Your post process is gonna suck because you got to do revision after revision, and you know it get messy. It get messy. So again, everything is in prep. So that leads into our next and final part of production life is post production. What does that process look like for you guys that y'all think? Like post production.
Making selects, finding music. That's how it started.
You said finding music?
Yeah.
Okay.
Making selects.
Okay, making selects, finding music.
I would say making your selects, but also like setting up your project correctly. Like all your organize it. Especially as an editor, like you gotta make sure everything's where shot. Like I don't know. I rename my shot. It's like by the slate. You make sure I know. Okay, this is take 1, take 2. Look at your script supervisor. Know what you working with. Know all the things that happen on set and translate. Okay, wait, this shot is unusable. Go ahead and throw it away. Can't even do nothing with it. So go ahead and just be organized.
Right.
Have an organized editor or be an organized editor.
Facts. That's key. That's a great point. What's up, Chase?
One thing I started doing lately, like my first step, is to like send like a sneak peek of how the clips look. Like it's not gonna be anywhere near what the final product looks like, but throw like a sample grade on there, like how I might want it to look.
Yeah.
And just put a couple clips together. That way, get them excited about the edit.
Yeah.
And they're not just waiting around like wondering like what the shoot looked like.
Yeah.
And that also allows me to get a lot of the stylistic feedback out before the first draft is sent out. So it allows me to like get in front of a lot of questions.
Yeah. That's actually a really good point. Just for the people who haven't heard that's on the live stream, what he said is he'll create test clips. I'm gonna just say this, like, you know, like a teaser, if you will, or like a trailer. I think those things are key, you know, when you're dealing with clients before you send in the first draft, just to really show them like what this could look like once we kind of get to the full edit part. Because nobody wants to get deep into the editing process and you 10 hours into an edit and, you know, they like, yo, like, I don't really like this editing style. And then you're already 10, 12 hours in. Like, nobody wants to kind of deal with that. So I think that's dope to kind of, you know, look at it like a dinner. Like, you giving them like a little appetizer before you get to the main entree. So I think that's key, just so they can kind of see what they're dealing with. And you can kind of gauge. And again, like, this kind of is a part of prep, but, like, I think it is key to kind of do some of that in post, and it does help.
I would say also back up your stuff, and back up your stuff. Like, have copies for your copies.
Let me say this to you guys too. I'm glad you brought it up. When we talk about like footage in general, like you know, content, like if your content is in one place, like it don't exist. If it's in 2 places, it's all right. What you really want to do is have your stuff backed up in 3 different places. So you want to have it on 2 different hard drives, and then the third place is like the cloud. So that's like Google Drive, Dropbox. It's so many other different little softwares and stuff like that right now. But like, you know, hard drives are machines at the end of the day. Cameras are machines, they break. So you don't want to put something that you've invested so much money into, so much time into, you know, at risk of like being lost on like a hard drive. And we see so many like artists, rappers and stuff like that, musicians and stuff like that, like they'll get hard drives stolen and it's like, that's the only drive that they had it on. It's really their fault. Like, you should have backed it up like a couple more times. And again, like just backing it up once is not enough. Like you gotta put it in a couple different places. That's the only way you can really sustain. So, let me see. Questions?
I was gonna say, how do you like time your scenes and shots? Like, okay, for your call sheet, like separating it and like saying, okay, this scene is gonna take X amount of time. How do you personally like time it?
Got you. So that's more of like an assistant director question. I have been an AD a couple times. Honestly, like the things that really go into the amount of time that it takes for like certain shots and stuff like that, it's fully dependent on like, okay, like how large is your crew that you're moving around with? Like how long does it take you to get from base camp to whatever set that you're going to? You know, how long does it take for them for G&E, when I talk about G&E, that's grip and electric, how long does it take your lighting team to like, you know, set up lights and for set design to do what they do and like to move through the different worlds and stuff like that, like how long do those things kind of take? That's the key thing there. Like that'll tell you how long you really have with a certain amount of shots and stuff like that. So yeah. Did I tell you guys to create like a post-production like checklist yet? Nah. Nah. All right, cool. So let's do that. Let's jump into that. Let me get you guys to write down like a post schedule, like what a post schedule looks like, and then we'll get into that. Yeah. Yeah, assuming they're doing everything. And post is real simple, guys. I got three little checkpoints on my checklist. 3 points. Everybody good? Cool? All right, cool. So after you wrap production, once you get it to post, like as soon as you're done shooting, like the next day, the first thing you need to do is, you know, reach out to your client or whoever you're working with, you know, either send a text, email, or whatever, you know, saying thank you, number one. Like, thank you still go a long way in this business. So say thank you, and then follow up with that with an understanding of, one, either the day and time that you said that you're gonna deliver the first cut or the first edit, or, you know, understanding when they need that edit sent in. Like, that's the day after the shoot. That's immediate. Like, that's the number one thing that you need to do. Because again, we talk about communication. Like you may have like a date in your head, in your mind about like when it needs to be sent in, and for them it might be a whole nother thing. Or even worse, like let's just say you did communicate what it is. Like most clients, they forgetful, bro. Like they don't really keep up with stuff. They don't really keep everything organized, so they might have forgot about what y'all talked about. So that's why, and I know we haven't really discussed this, but like that's why it's important to really have like contracts and like things in place like that. So it's like, all right, this is what we kind of agreed to And again, after the shoot, you want to revisit what y'all agreed to after the shoot too, just as much as you did before the shoot. So that's number one. Anybody heard the saying early is on time is late? That's still a real thing. And the way that I do that, just so y'all know, like, I always, how am I trying to say this? What is it like? It's not over promise, it's under promise, right? I always under promise. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the key thing. Like under promise and over deliver. Like I might tell a client that it'll take a week to send in the edit, but I might send it in 3 days. But for one, you want to give yourself that latitude to like, all right, like you might need that whole week, but you can probably get it done in a day. But you want to tell them that, so it's like, all right, like they're expecting it in a week, but you're giving it to them early. Again, on time is early, on time is late. So we live in a perception-based like business when it comes to like just entertainment and being a creative and things like that. So you just want to create like almost an illusion, if you will, if I can use that word. Like you want to create this illusion or this idea that like, yes, like I'm diligently like working on this thing, even if you're not. Like you still want to do that just so it creates like this like urgency that you're working on it, you know, and obviously you are, but like it's not to the extent that you're probably making it seem. You know what I'm saying? And that's key. So I always do that. And then after we set expectations, the last thing and the most important thing, guys, please don't run from revisions. Like, and when I say run from revisions, like we deal with like a lot of people, a lot of editors, a lot of creatives, to where like when it gets down to the wire, it's the day to deliver a client, not deliver a client, deliver an edit or send in, you know, finished photos or retouched photos, and like people will go ghost. Like they just disappear from the face of the earth. You hit them up and like, yo, like you're supposed to deliver on this project, like what's up? Like where you at? And they ain't responding. Has anybody dealt with that situation? Or experienced that, seen it? So y'all know what I'm talking about. Like, you know, like honestly, like, and I'm gonna just be honest, like that's the worst situation to kind of be in to do that, because it's really hard to recover from it, because what y'all agreed to is not what actually happened. Like I'm pretty sure you and the client never agreed to like a period of time where like you just disappeared. Especially when it's one thing if you like getting hit up by a client like, you know, outside of business hours, that's one thing. But like if they hitting you up during work hours, during the time that y'all agreed that something to be turned in and you just don't deliver, it's not the best. That's the worst time to just disappear and go ghost. You know, and I've seen that happen to like a lot of people, and you know, it's never a good thing. So I always try to like avoid that. I always try to remember like, yo, like, yes, revisions can be like taxing as an editor. Revisions can be like a chore, if you will, especially when you don't agree with the revision, but like don't run from it. Thoughts about that? Questions? Anybody feel me when I say that? What's up, bro? I think you're going. I'm sorry for the mic, my guy.
Is there ever like a limit you set for revisions? Like, I mean, of course you would expect like if you let me know exactly what you want, I should be able to get this done at least 1 or 2 revisions. But is what if the client comes back after 2, 3, 4, 5 times and still like what happens there for you?
So like what you're talking about now is like, and I like to use the term like bottleneck. Like that's a bottleneck, you know, if you will, because if you 5, 10, 15, 20 revisions in, somewhere in pre-production it didn't go the way it needed to go. So to prevent that, again, like that's why prep is so heavy and so important to every single project that you work on. Like being intentional about like, all right, like I know we're shooting a video, but what does this really look like? You know, like let's really get into the nuts and bolts of that. Like I think that's key. So like again, like prepping the right way just kind of alleviates the post process. But like just to answer your question, like for me, you got to do what's comfortable for you as far as the number of revisions. Like sometimes it might be 3 revisions, it might be 5, but you know, I'll say this, and hopefully y'all can write this down too. Like, it's no right or wrong, it's what you agree to. What you agree to is what it is. Like that's really you know, nothing else to really be said outside of that. Like if you agree to turn in the project by a certain time and a certain amount of revisions, you know, you kind of have to do that. Now, what you negotiate for added edit fees after it gets outside of that is another conversation. And those are what we call overages. And you know, again, it's always good to be proactive instead of reactive. And you want to be proactive and communicate like, look, like this is what your overages can look like if, you know, this project isn't done by this date, by this amount of revisions, you know. And again, if you're doing that in the beginning before the video shot, it becomes an easier conversation at the end after the fact. You don't want to just surprise them at the end because you fed up and you over the project and be like, yeah, like I'm just gonna kick them this invoice twice as much as what we talked about. Like, you don't want to do that because it's just gonna, like, they never gonna work with you after that. You know what I'm saying? So you just want to be communication, like, focused, you know, on that end of the spectrum. Like, that's the key thing. Trying to think what else, guys. I know we got like a little bit of time left, but trying to think what else I could share that really give you guys some value. Like, is there anything else that I haven't covered that you guys want to hear or just to talk about or discuss or anything? What's up, bro? So like, I kind of want to talk about how you right behind
you. So kind of wanted to just talk about how you started the HBUC.
Yeah.
Like what that process was like. If that was self-funded.
Yeah. So just to talk about this, and all right, cool. I could talk about me a little bit. So I have a studio in the West End. It's called the Historically Black University of Creatives. It's a 20,000 square foot space, and we've been there 3 years. If you guys are familiar with the Metropolitan Lofts on the West End, that's where we at, you know, building 2. We have the number 8 peer space location in Atlanta on peer space. We just got that award recently, so that's been pretty cool. The process into building that space and kind of getting that started was, again, through just like working with the right people, building the right relationships. Like, it's a team of, it started with just like, you know, me and my business partner, Travis Cochran, and I met him honestly through Cantrell that I talked about earlier. You know, I shot my first label video with him, and he wasn't managing Cantrell at the time, but like a year later he was, and that's how we got introduced, and then we just kept building from there. You know, again, three years later, so many different clients. I don't know if you guys have seen the Chris Brown Go Crazy remix video with Young Thug, Lotto, Dirk, Gunna. There's a few other artists on that, but that was our first production in that space. So ever since then, it's been like, you know, several different projects a month for us. So that's been pretty cool. You know, if you guys haven't checked it out, I would highly encourage you guys to check it out. We do have productions. So like my whole thing with the whole studio is I wanted to bring production sets and stuff like that to Atlanta that I just didn't see, like that we didn't really have. So like the set that I'm talking about from Peer Space is like, it's just literally like a LED box. You know what I mean? And we see a lot of those in LA and New York. Actually, a friend of mine, he actually built the one in LA that's been super popular. And I was like, yo, like, we need something like that in Atlanta. Like, I'm tired of shooting outside of Atlanta Station. Like, you know what I'm saying? I know y'all can't relate to that. Like, so that's been my main thing. Go ahead. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, just tired of shooting there. Tired of shooting in Krog Street Tunnel. Tired of shooting in, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we needed something different. So that was the approach. And, you know, right now we got 6 different production sets that people can shoot on for, you know, around $100 an hour. So we want to make sure it's affordable too for like us. Like that's the whole point. Like, you know, it's one thing for me to build a studio and it's like a sound stage and we shooting Marvel and stuff like that. Like I don't really resonate with that. Like I want to make something for us that we can come in and like shoot, you know, whatever. So that's that space. We are launching like memberships pretty soon. So I highly encourage you guys to check that out. Stay tapped in. And what memberships look like is, you know, let's just say you want to book the space for a certain amount of hours, you know, a month, you can book a package for that. You know, you can have the space and obviously we're going to make it, like it's 2 parts. So you can book it to shoot and also making it like a co-op space too. So you can come in, you know, we'll have like edit bays, IMAX and stuff like that so people can come in and work. And, you know, let's just say you live outside the city, you got a spot in the city now. You know, so that's the key thing that we've been building there. Question.
So as a director, like, how did you discover your voice and like articulate your visions to make sure it looks like you, reflects you in your art?
To make sure it looks like me, again, like, you know, we're a product of what we agree to. So like, if it doesn't really serve me, it doesn't really look like anything that resonates with me, I'm not gonna agree to it. You know what I'm saying? That's number one. Like, I always start there. Like, being intentional about like the projects that you take on. Like, don't take on a job just because it's the next thing to work on. Take on something that you can actually resonate with. Cause like, it's nothing worse than taking on a project and it's like, man, like, I ain't trying to be here, bro. Like, I ain't trying to shoot this wedding. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, like, I ain't trying to do this. You know, so like, do things that you're passionate about. Do things that really resonate with what you want to do and resonate with like, what's your long term. Now, every project ain't gonna look the same and every project ain't gonna look like that, but be intentional about like how often that happens. Cause that's how you're gonna, you know, ultimately be at like peace, creating and building and having the journey that you have been having. Like, you know, again, like I'm almost 10 years in, bro. And you know, a lot of people 10 years in, they get burnt out pretty quick. And the way to avoid that is just like diversifying the shoots that you work on, the things that you work on and stuff like that. So. Anybody else? All right, cool. So I think it's about that time. I think we got you guys until like 9, but I do have 3 amazing, shout out Kirk Studios, you know what I'm saying? I got 3 camera care kits that I want to give away to you guys, but you know, I wanted to kind of start with this, so let me get you guys to just like, you know, talk to me about like a couple things that y'all have learned, you know, with me tonight, you know, let's talk about that. You know, and I'm just gonna give them away to, honestly, the first 3 to answer. We're gonna keep it real simple.
Proper planning prevents poor performance.
Facts.
Go the extra mile, building relationships.
Okay.
Don't run from the revisions.
Yeah.
Make sure you say thank you.
Facts.
Early is on time.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say this too, man. Like, and I know this ain't really like the fun class to have, but it's the needed class to have. Like, you know, talking about like these things, like being on time, and like I know it's super core things, but like again, like I think y'all got the tools to be photographers, videographers, directors. I don't really need to be here for that part of it. What I am here for is just talking to y'all about like the professionalism that's a part of like building a real career, you know, as a director. Like, you know, you look at like a lot of shows these days, like they don't really experiment with new directors. like they find the 4 or 5 directors for shows, and they get swapped from show to show. They might work on Insecure, they might work on Power, they might work on P-Valley, it might be this and that, but it's the same directors because they've already proven that they can deliver. They're not gonna try nobody, I mean, they will try a few people new, but like they're not rotating in and out like, you know, like other, you know, directors that's washed or whatever you wanna call it. Like they working with the same people that's working, you know what I'm saying? Because they have consistently shown over the years that they can deliver a product every single time, so. But I got 2 camera kits left. Let me see who. All right, cool. I'm going to bed. I'm going to bed. Going to bed.
The one thing I've taken from it is there's no right or wrong. It's what you agree to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's real.
I would say, like, do your research, test out, check out that location, make sure it fits your vision, make sure you have that conversation with your clients, make sure everything's there. Be like organized before you get to work, so you don't have to work too hard when you're there.
Okay.
Or when you're after the fact post-production.
And what's the test scout?
Test scout, find that location.
Yeah.
Make sure it fits the vision.
Okay, cool.
All that fun stuff.
Perfect. Cool.
We can earn our keep.
All right, cool. So that's the 3. I'm gonna actually hand these out after I wrap up, but that's really all I had, guys. I appreciate everybody tonight. I'm not gonna hold y'all too long. You know, if y'all wanna stick around, I'll be here for a little bit. Appreciate y'all staying attentive. Looking forward to speaking, going from there. Cool.